even played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do ya? It goes like this, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I heard.
And welcome everyone to the third Inspirational Twitch Talk. My name is Brian, the president of Days of Inspiration, and we've got a really, really great speaker on today. I've known this woman for 6-7 years now, I think, pretty close to that, and I've seen her grow so much, and knowing what she's been going through in her life, she's such an incredible person, and it's caring, and oh my god, she's funny, like she's hilarious. I love her to bits, like, and I'm so glad that she's found the time to come on here and speak with us. And before I make her blush anymore, I'm going to say hello to Brittney Larson. Hello, Nugget.
Follow up with that. That was like the nicest thing anyone's ever said.
Well, it's all 100% true. I really respect you so much and everything that you've done in your life, and especially with all the stuff that you've gone through. Because I know I've tried to get into the bodybuilding, and I'm not gonna say I couldn't, but I struggle with the dedication it takes, and yeah, you just amaze me. I watch your videos every day of you working out and killing it in the gym, and you inspire me so much. You really, really do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Because I think it's just like when you have a lot of hard days, sometimes it's really hard to stay positive sometimes. So I think it's just important to be consistent, and I think you're just seeing me be consistent right now through hard things, and that's important for me to see, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, every day you're posting what you're working at, your workouts, and your videos of your plants, all your beautiful plants, and yeah, and your food. You post your food sometimes too, right? Sometimes, not always.
It's just boring.
It's the same thing every day, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing like crazy, so.
Yeah. Okay, so let's first talk about growing up and what got you into bodybuilding, and some of the struggles you've had leading up to it.
Man, okay, so as long as I can remember, I was always sick. I had a lot. I was always in the hospital and always at the doctor's office, always in the emergency room. And this started like from whenever I was little, and I also had a lot of like anxiety from. I just felt like a science experiment. So I was always getting like poked and prodded and sent to one specialist to another, and then as a young girl, and also like I guess back then like technology wasn't what it is now. So someone with lupus would be very hard to. Well, I mean, it's still hard to, I think, uh, diagnose now. But because you have to have like certain special circumstances and everything in the blood and all that for it to come out. But like I was always so sick, and they said, like, some of the doctors were like, well, no, she's just depressed. She just wants attention. She's not sick. This is all, she's making it up. It's all in her head. But then they would give me pills and then send me from one specialist to another. It's almost like they were just passing on responsibility. And I almost didn't graduate. I was really good friends with like my vice principal. Like he helped me so much get through all of that, and my coaches in school helped me as well. I had a lot of homework. I had a lot of things I had to do, so it was really hard to like. I still had really good grades, but not being in class, it's hard to keep up with your schoolwork and stuff. So I'm glad I graduated. That was really hard. It's really hard because it's almost like I was just sick full time. And, it was total hell. And then especially for people with power to tell you, no, you're making this up, there's nothing wrong with you, but for you to be, it's going to get graphic, but, I'm peeing out blood, I'm like, my hair's falling out, I have like sores everywhere, and there's pus, and like I'm bleeding out of my butt, and like just but no, I'm making all this up, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Kind of hard to fake.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but then you start to question yourself. You're like, am I making this up? Like, am I crazy? Like, so growing up without the diagnosis was very difficult. But once it came out, which finally it took like 8 or 9 different doctors for the lupus diagnosis to come out.
Wow.
And this one lady, she looked at me, and I had a flare, and my mom has lupus as well, and so she would always tell the doctors, hey, test her for this, whatever you call it, I don't remember, antibody or whatever, I don't remember, do these tests, and they never would. And then when they would, the test wouldn't pop out like positive, I guess, because when they would test, I wouldn't be having a flare-up. Okay. So like the test, like it has me kind of at a certain time, I guess.
Right.
But I had a really bad flare-up, and my mom brought me to her rheumatologist, and she looked at me, and she did a bunch of tests, and she was like, wow, I think it's this, it's SLE, it's this is what's happening, you're not crazy, like, and that's whenever she turned me to, it was a group of doctors, there was a panel, and my mom and I went to it, and it was supposed to be for like autoimmune, and I think I was probably, I think this was what, 2007, something like that. I was probably 18, 19, maybe 20.
Okay.
And I'm standing in front of all of these panels of doctors, and it's been a few weeks of me being on all these lupus drugs and medications, and I'm very sick, and I always question things. And I started thinking about, like, okay, where does this medicine come from? Well, this medicine comes from, like, this plant or whatever. Okay, well, that's cool. And so I started trying to think about natural ways how to do this. So what is medicine? Well, medicine can be food, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started asking the questions with these doctors, and I stood up in front of the whole panel of doctors and a bunch of people, and I'm like, well, what do I do if I don't want to take my medicine? And they go, well, you're going to die of complications within 5 years. I suggest you take your medicine. I'm like, well, what if I do, like, can't I have, like, eat good foods and, like, make that better? Like, I know that drugs come from plants. And they're like, you need to listen to your doctor or you're going to die. And it was just it was a heaviness that they put on me, like, yeah. If you don't listen and if you don't take this medicine that makes you feel worse,
right,
then you're going to die. So, yeah, and, I'm a young girl. I've been battling with, being sick and all these just questionable, weird illnesses going on since I was young. And for this to finally come out, it was really scary.
Right. I can imagine that, yes.
Yeah,
How old were you when this was happening?
I think, gosh, I was probably, I want to say, like, I was either 18 to 21. It was probably somewhere around there. It's since gosh, I just turned 34, so it's hard to remember the exact dates.
Youngin.
Yeah. But I don't remember what I was about to say.
You're talking about the plants that you wanted to use instead of the drugs, and the doctors were telling you no.
Yeah. So I'd actually gotten, so when you have bad case of lupus, like they put you on like chemotherapy drugs, they put you on immunosuppressive drugs, and these drugs are just absolutely atrocious. So I kept taking the medicine, thinking, like, okay, well, I don't want to die, and I can't go to work. I can't get out of bed. I crawl to the bathroom. I'm sleeping on the bathroom floor because I'm puking so much. I'm sweating. There's still blood coming out of my butt. There's still, I'm still peeing blood. I'm having, crazy nosebleeds, and my skin is flaring up, and my heart is racing and fluttering, and I'm feeling like I'm having a heart attack and heat stroke at the same time. And it's just, the medicine was just absolutely terrible. And it started to eat into my muscle because I always liked to kind of work out and dabble and just I did a lot of beach body stuff, the fun little active home
I know
workout.
all about that. Yes.
Yeah.
The PX, P0X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my beginning thing of just me being active and committing to something. So, yeah, so anyway, I was doing beach body and everything, but I couldn't do that anymore. And then I couldn't eat. And I just wanted to die. I was like, you know what? I would rather not take the medicine, and I would rather die, or I would rather live a shorter life without this medicine than to continue on with this medicine and want to just die. This is just terrible. So I talked to my doctors, and I just stopped taking everything.
Okay.
And excuse me. I missed a really big step here.
Okay.
I talked to my doctors, and I told them I was going to stop taking everything, and they advised against it, of course. Well, I ended up getting pneumonia really bad. Part of the lupus attacks my lungs, so I've had pneumonia 13 times now, and all of that was in, oh my gosh, about a 7-year time span.
Wow.
I haven't had pneumonia in probably 2 years now,
Okay.
which is awesome. It's awesome. But since I was on the chemo drugs and all the immune suppressive drugs and all that, I totally messed that word up, but
Okay.
yeah. I got pneumonia really bad, and then I had actually become, since I had pneumonia so many times, I started to become allergic to all of the antibiotics for it.
Wow.
So then they started piggybacking other antibiotics on top of antibiotics, and I ended up getting a super infection. And I actually ended up dying in the hospital. This just took over everything. I just stopped breathing, and I had an out-of-body experience.
Wow. Okay.
Now, in my hand, I'm holding on to a piece of a magazine. It was from an Oxygen magazine.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I remember Oxygen. Oh yeah.
There was it was a Team Universe advertisement, and it was in there, and I had ripped it out, and I would sleep with it at night because it just kind of kept me going. And at that point, it was just, I want to do it. And whenever I would say I wanted to do it, people would be like, no, you're too sick, you can't do that. So anyway, I have this out-of-body experience, and at this point in life, I am pretty sad. I'm pretty depressed. I'm not really in a good state. I put a good smile on, and I'm still nice to my friends, and I still try to make people laugh, but deep down, I just want to die. And sorry,
That's okay. No. We're just having a conversation here. It's just me and you here.
Yeah. I'm thinking back, and it's just kind of wild. So I'm also going to pharmacy school. I'm gonna get my doctorate in pharmacy, and I'm also doing internships. And well, when I'm not sick, I'm doing internships, and nobody, and I would be the only one dancing in this room. I would be the only one singing or bouncing around or, hey guys, how are you doing? Everyone was just kind of just there and really just like depressed and sad, and I didn't like it. And then I started to work in the front, and then in like packaging department, like I would get the lists of like how much you buy the medicine for, and or how much they bought the medicine for, and how much we sell it for, how much the insurance is, and all that.
Right.
And there would be people that were actually sick, who cannot afford the medication. That say we bought for $8, and they want to sell it for $800.
Yeah.
And it broke my heart. And then I knew this medicine isn't making me better. What is all this? Like, I can do this with food. Like, I've read about health. I know there's got to be another way.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, and that's where I was at that point. And then I got really sick, and I talked to my brother about, like, wanting to do bodybuilding and everything. And, like, he was always like, yeah, Britt, like, that's cool, you know, but I think he was just also kind of like, yeah, you're really sick, like, but...
Yeah, you're shaking out there. Yeah, whatever. You go do what you want to do. Yeah. I know how big brothers are. I am one.
And, I'm sorry, I keep bouncing back and forth with where I'm at.
That's fine.
So, with this experience I have, it's an out-of-body experience. I basically meet my maker. And that's not what I'm going to get into here. But basically, I told you that up to that point I wanted to die, right?
Yes.
And when it came to that point and I had this experience, I did not want to. I wanted another chance. I'm begging for another chance because when you look back at my life, or when I was looking back at my life, I felt like my heart was just really sad, and I felt like, I felt like a caged bird, because I was always sick and in the hospital and just looking out the window, wanting to be out there, but I was always in here attached to lines and beeping machines.
The proverbial bubble boy.
Yes, yeah.
You're stuck in the bubble. You can't do anything else. You look from the outside, inside out.
Yeah, and then you're also really sour because you see all these other people living their life.
Right.
And you're like, damn, man, like, what if I could? And anyway, like, I come back to, and there was some really deep, crazy conversations with that whole experience, but I came back to, and basically, my brother's there, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. So I quit all the drugs. I quit going to school for pharmacy. I switched all that. And I was actually a personal trainer, but I was always really sick, so it's like no one's going to listen to the sick girl. So during that hospital stay, whenever I started to crash, I actually made a really good friend, and I don't remember how we were friends, but we were Facebook friends, and he had a coach, and he was doing a bodybuilding show. And he was like the only friend I had on there that was doing the bodybuilding show, and I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, this is so cool. And he started talking to me about it, and he's like, you can do this. And he's just a perfect stranger, and like, I'm so sick in bed, I can't sleep, and he's keeping me company at night. And it was awesome because this dude had no idea who I was, and he's like, you can totally do this. And when I got out of the hospital, I contacted him, and he gave me his coach's information. At this point, I was also going through I was separated from my husband at the time, and I was in Texas when all this was going on. And my husband was living in Colorado, and that's actually where this guy, my friend, my new friend who had the coach was in Colorado too. So I contacted him, and then I emailed the coach, and then, like I have this whole life experience. I'm going to be better. Like, let's work it out with my marriage. Let's see how it's going. So, I go back to Colorado, and as I'm going to Colorado, this coach texts me, and he's like, yes, I would love to have you. And from there, it was just kind of game on. He always pushed me. He gave me a diet. He gave me a workout. Like, he gave me the plan, and he also gave me the accountability. And I also needed him because I had a lot of bullshit I needed to let go of. I had a whole life being sick. So what's this new life? I can't keep going back to being this sick girl that I know, right?
Right.
So by becoming this bodybuilder, by doing these bodybuilder things, by changing my lifestyle, I'm going to be somebody else.
Right.
And so I changed my school stuff, my nutrition stuff, and everything. And I started doing like functional nutrition. I learned about therapy, and that's actually healing the body with vitamins. And I started to give myself vitamins that were actually good for you to help with your body. I went out of my way to find natural supplements that are like, say, instead of taking the NSAIDs and like the heavy inflammatory medicines, I will take turmeric with fenugreek, and that's a really great inflammatory, and it passes the blood-brain barrier, and it can also help like with brain inflammation, which is what I had, and I continue to kind of battle with. Yeah, let's see what else. And then I literally just went. I just did it every day, and it didn't matter if I didn't feel good, and it didn't matter. I had another chance, and so I would even like sometimes my body would be hurting so bad, I would literally just put a hat on and I would just silently cry through every rep, and I just needed to do that because I was building a new me. I wasn't gonna let this shit take me anymore.
See that right there, that's the warrior mindset that I've known you to have since I've met you. Like I didn't know when you were going through all this. I didn't know you. I think it was just after you moved to Colorado that I first met you.
Yeah.
And like that's all I ever knew about you was that you were a bodybuilder, and I knew about the lupus, and I followed you ever since.
I think you followed me. Like, what? Do you remember Baxter, the dog that would dance?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. So you were, because I started. That was 2013 when I started. When I had my first competition, it was 2013.
Right. I think it was shortly after your first competition that I saw you.
Yeah. How did you find me?
Through Kelly Murphy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet. That's cool.
Yeah. So okay, so you were sick most of your life. You basically died, came back, and holding on to your oxygen particle.
Yes.
Right, and then you started bodybuilding. All right.
Yeah.
So what was the like? What was the motivation? Like I know you wanted to be a bodybuilder, but what was it about it that you really went mental for? Like what was the reason why bodybuilding was the thing that kept you back, that kept you going?
I love that I can control what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I may not be able to control my flare-ups, or I may not be able to control. I mean, hang on. Let me take that back. In a way, because I do control what I eat and what I do, I can control flare-ups.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if I'm eating my old ways, I'm having flare-ups all the time, right? If I'm not controlling, if I'm not being, vigilant about what I'm eating,
Right.
then that, I will get very sick. So I like the control. And especially now, I never, ever, ever, I've always had like a body dysmorphia. And growing up in Texas, like my dad was a linebacker in high school and college, or not, excuse me, I don't remember. He was a linebacker. So like I have naturally, like I'm a muscular kind of person. Like me just lifting, I just get like this. And my mom was tiny and dainty, and she's very like big hair and nails and makeup and purses and all that shit, and I don't do that. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah. How you got into bodybuilding? Like what about bodybuilding that you love?
Oh yeah, so like, okay. So I always had like a body dysmorphia. Like
Okay.
I never, and then I also like how like you and I had talked. Like I have some mental kind of stuff too, and so I had a lot of like disassociating, and it was really, I had a terrible body image. But the fact that I can control what I eat, I can control how I feel through the foods that I give myself, and I can choose to put in the work every day. And now it's like I look at my body and it's like, holy shit, this is me. This is like, this has been, what is it now, 8 years I guess in the making, and like this is because I never quit.
Mm-hmm.
And like now it's almost, and I don't want to sound, I feel weird for saying this, but like now it's like that magazine advertisement that had my hand. It's like now I'm one of those people.
Right. Yes, you are.
And
you are.
that's wild. And it's just because, I mean, I know you asked me about like what got me into bodybuilding. I think it was because I wanted to, that was my way of, that was my battlefield. That was my arena.
Okay. That makes sense.
And yeah, and I use bodybuilding. Yeah, that's actually every time I'm going through anything, I always evolve mentally when I'm going through a prep. Like whenever I'm in the bodybuilding arena and it's getting gritty and I'm hungry and it's hard and I'm like, man, am I really, should I do this? I'm always like, yeah, and I think about those hospital beds, and I think about how I felt then and how sad I was, and I think about how I got another chance. And it's almost like I've been reminded plenty of times, that life is short and it can end very swiftly. And
Just live life to the fullest.
yeah, exactly. It's just, bodybuilding's my arena. It's how I handle things.
I love it. I really do.
Thanks.
Okay, so you're into bodybuilding. You're in Colorado now. You got this coach that's helping you, and talk about the lead up to your pro card in natural.
So yeah, okay. So I started that. My first show was 2013, and then I did NPC for a while. I did great in NPC. I started getting like,
For those who don't know, because there are people who are not into bodybuilding, NPC is the National Physique Council, as the main bodybuilding federation that for amateurs.
yeah, pretty much like I guess the biggest one, I guess.
I would say so, yes. At least in North America, anyway.
Yeah. I don't know much about outside here.
Yeah.
And I did really well. However, I started out as a cute little figure girl, adorable, but the linebacker jeans, I just kept getting bigger and bigger, and soon I started getting counted down in figure, and I was getting really upset, and then my coach just put me in physique, and I didn't know how to pose for shit. I literally just got back from a national show where I had gotten like last place in figure, and I had a parasite because I ended up in the hospital. I'd gotten really sick out in Jersey at that show, and he was like, I was really upset about the show, and I wanted to just do something fun when I got back. And he's like, well, why don't you do physique? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Me do a posing routine. I do Napoleon Dynamite. He's like, why don't you? And he burned the Napoleon Dynamite song for me, and then that's literally what I did. I did a butterfly like hand gesture on the stage.
I love it.
It was great. It was awesome, and it was so fun. And I loved that freedom of physique, and I love that freedom now that I'm in bodybuilding. I love the freedom of the routines and how you can just bring your flow and your sass and your attitude. If you want to be funny, you can do that.
It's like gymnastics in that sense, or
Yeah.
their floor routine. They just go all out and they have their sass and they do their moves and they're
Yeah,
yeah, that's exactly what it is. They're showing off their moves. They're showing off
exactly what you're
their
doing right now.
strength, their power, their everything. That's what you are in physique and bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's really cool. Um, oh, but leading up to the natural,
Yes.
so I had actually that prep was very interesting because before that I had this was the end of 2015, and I had helped open up a Metroflex gym.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and I was doing strongman, and um I got it in my head that like I was totally burnt out. I was burnt out because I'd just been over dieted, over cardioed, and just overtrained for all the shows that I'd done. And I wanted to eat and have fun and lift heavy shit with my bros.
Again,
And
before I don't hate to interrupt you, but because we got a wide range of people on here, I want to just clarify what some of the terms that you're saying. Strongman is like if you see it on ESPN, TSN, whatever. The big men who are lifting up the big stones and lifting cars and
yeah,
the caber tosses and whatever
yes,
not. That's what she's talking about when she's talking about strongman competitions.
yeah, and like that, like all the strongmen at Metroflex were like a big family. They were all my brothers. Like we would all bring food on strongman lift days. We would have music. Like oh my gosh, I loved the atmosphere so much. However, the issue is I was eating a lot,
Okay.
and I had gotten up to 190 pounds, and I'm 5'2".
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like right now I'm 157, and there's a pretty big difference. Um, and I mean I was lifting heavy, but the thing is with strongman, if my body could handle it, I would love to do that. But the lupus, just my joints and everything just won't hold up.
Right.
But anyway, so my weight had just like stacked up, and now I tell you that I was eating like shit. I wasn't eating terribly, but I was just eating a little bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, you're eating a lot. Yes. When you're doing
but
strength events, you usually eat more to get the energy.
but I was also just getting really sick, and my hair started falling out, and I took a photo because I had a sponsorship and I wanted to take a photo for them to do like a marketing piece or whatever. And when I saw that photo, I quit the sponsorship because I was like, oh my goodness, you have completely let yourself go. 190 pounds at 5'2.5", and a lot of that, which will make sense after I finish this story. But I was just gaining weight really fast, and I couldn't understand why because I wasn't eating a ton, not at that body fat rate. I guess I wasn't eating that much, and I started. So I started a prep, And this prep, I mean, we're having to do, when I prep, I have to do pretty drastic. I have to do like low carb for a long time. I have to do high amounts of cardio. I typically don't lose a lot of muscle. It just takes a lot for me to get really lean. And this prep was just something else. And he had actually wanted me to do, my coach at the time actually wanted me to do a show in NPC called USA's. That's actually the one that I went pro at.
Yeah.
And I declined it. I told him no. I said, hey, I actually want to go this route with this other association that I'm not going to say because it's kind of, they kind of have bad blood.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave that alone.
But it's natural.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I went over there and I got my pro card there. And that was awesome. But right after that, I went to the doctor because I just was so sick. And they ran on my blood and all of my hormones had just completely crashed. Like, they told me like it was going to happen because sometimes like autoimmune, like sometimes your hormones just stop. And, you know, sometimes you can just crash, and that's just the thing. And so I made the decision to get on HRT therapy. My testosterone was at 0. My little doctor at the time, he was very uncomfortable. He was an older individual, loved him to death. He was so sweet, but he was uncomfortable with prescribing me testosterone at all. So he was like, I'm going to put you on antidepressants. And I'm like, well, I don't want to be on antidepressant. I want my testosterone in a natural, optimal place. Like, I know this is what's causing this. And so I had to go search out for another doctor, but I also had like high estrogen symptoms. Oh my goodness. Also, I don't know if you remember this, but whenever I jumped up to the 190, so what had been going on, I had been having hormone imbalance issues. My test was dropping and my estrogen was spiking. And that's why I was gaining a whole lot of weight, and that's why I kept having a ton of flare-ups. Now, high estrogen is linked to autoimmune. Now, I'm not a doctor, but like in all of my research and everything, like I read it and I've lived it. And so whenever I went to this HRT clinic, they gave me an estrogen lowering agent, and they also started helping me with testosterone.
Okay.
And this is no way I'm not abusing it. It's just to get my natural, like my levels back, not naturally, but my levels back to
a normal range.
Yeah. And once that happened, like I had to let go of that other pro card, and I basically had to start over back in the NPC.
Right. And because you took the testosterone, yep. It was illegal in the natural.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. They're pretty big. They're pretty big. They're pretty adamant on like,
yeah.
We don't care. If you're injecting anything, like, we don't want you.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is fine. It's the same playing ground. I like it.
Yes. Oh. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. That's why you're not in natural now, is because of the testosterone you have to take for your health.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, actually, whenever I got on HRT and my estrogen started getting lower, I started feeling better. And my digestion started to get better. My flares started to like lessen. I would get sick less. Just a lot of small but very life-changing things. And I noticed I wasn't as sick anymore all the time. And it started making me question. I was like, was I making up being sick? Was I like, did this just stop? I don't understand. And so I truly feel that the lupus and everything is linked to high estrogen, and also when I wasn't that 190 pounds, do you remember I had actually gotten really sick? I couldn't even walk. And I had gone to 3 different hospitals, and they all diagnosed me with herpes. And this was like, no, I wasn't, like, there was no way. And none of the medicine would work, and I was like, I thought my life was over. And I went to a rheumatologist because nothing was working. None of these medicines were working. I'm bleeding. I can't even get up. I went to the bathroom on myself a couple times because I could not move, because when I moved, they would crack open and bleed. Like, it was so painful. And this doctor looks at me, and now keep in mind, none of these hospitals did any sort of swabs or anything. They did not send any tests. They just visually looked at it. That's it. So this doctor comes back, and I'm crying, and she's looking at me, and she's checking out the air, and she goes, "Oh, honey, you have lupus, don't you?" I said, yeah. She goes, "Oh, I know what this is. This is Behçet's disease," which was another autoimmune that popped up. Yeah. Which also could be linked to my breast implants too, because of lupus. Like,
let's talk about let's change topics. And I completely forgot about that part of your life. Let's talk about the implants.
Yeah, because I got those after. Yeah, funny story. So I got those in 2014 because I was told that if I didn't get them, I would not do well in the industry.
Right.
Of course, you see all the ones in the industry that are winning, and at the time they all have them, and you're like, okay, well, I guess this is what I got to do. And I always wanted them, so it's like, well, fine, it's no brainer, of course. So I get some big gazongas on there, and within a couple months, I start getting even more sick. Now, I don't put any of this together until 2020, when breast implant illness comes out.
Right.
So looking back now, I know, oh my gosh, like I actually probably made the lupus even worse with the implants, and then which then also caused my hormones to crash, which then also caused other autoimmune issues to kind of pop out, because when you have one, you're kind of prone to having a whole lot of them.
Right. It was earlier than 2020 when you got them out, wasn't it? It was 2018?
I got them out in January 2020.
Oh, I thought it was sooner than that. I thought it was before that. Okay.
Yeah, because we're in 2021 now, right?
Yeah, but you got your pro card in 19.
Mm-hmm.
It was after the pro card that you got rid of them?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So, like, this look on stage is going to be totally different than the other one. It's pretty cool. I'm excited.
But like I said, I've seen your videos, and you look great. I mean, I'm serious. Like, I love the shape you have right now. So, yeah, so you're gonna be well, in my opinion, you're at least a top 5.
Oh man, I wish. I know I'm a new.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, but I think you have that shape and size that not well the size compared to your height. Like I know you're short, but you've got the shape for your size. I think it's perfect.
When you look at the lineup, it's so funny because I'm such a small nugget compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I think so. Miss Olympia weighed in at 200 pounds.
Yeah, but she's like 5'9", 5'10".
Is she? I don't know how tall she is.
I think she's 5'9".
Okay. Well, then that weight looks really good on her.
Yeah.
In my brain, I think everyone else is 5'2", and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is it, 200 pounds?
Yeah, she's up there, 5'8", 5'9", something like that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I love her physique. I think it's awesome. But I'm always like, dang, she has 50 pounds on me. Shoot.
You see, yeah, you got to look at the dimensions here. That's what it's all about. Is the dimensions.
Yep.
Okay, so let's see. So we're talking about the breast. You got the the breast implants taken out, and your health has gotten a lot better. But let's talk about prior to your professional, your getting your pro card.
Yeah.
and talking about was it 6 months, 7 months prior that you had a stroke?
I think it was 4.
Was it 4?
I think it was 4 to the day, like March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, it was 4.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What happened?
Yeah.
What was the
Um,
circumstances?
let's see. So my husband, I had been getting a whole lot of headaches, and I was also just getting really dizzy. Which with the lupus isn't, it's not abnormal for those things to happen. Um, so I also my pain tolerance, and I would rather just not go to the hospital. I would rather deal with it myself than to go to the hospital for them to be like, yeah, here's some Tylenol. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
when I go to the hospital, it's actually something really bad. Um, it was Ariel's birthday, and Ariel is one of my really good bodybuilder friends. She's actually the owner of RKO.
Okay.
Um,
Which you can
and
get 50% off if with your code that you'll see on your screen.
called Limitless. And it was her birthday, and so my husband was deployed, and I just made some food, and I was getting ready to go eat on the couch and just kind of veg out, watch TV, text my husband, and I had just sent Ariel like a happy birthday message. And I go to sit down, and my arm starts to do this weird jerky thing.
Okay.
And at first I think it's funny because I think it's like a nerve. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is okay. And so I go to grab my phone to record it so I can like send it to Josh to be like, dude, your wife is crazy.
Yeah.
Well, within, I don't know, seconds, it went from just a funny little, oh my God, what is my arm doing, to my whole entire body being consumed with like this. I was choking, and I couldn't breathe, and I was like convulsing, and all I could do, I just saw my husband's face. I just saw my husband's face, and I'm like, oh my God, we just got married that December, and this was March. So we just got married, he's deployed. Oh my gosh, no one's going to find me for days because I don't really go hang out with anybody. Like, he's going to, this house, I'm just having so many thoughts. I'm just racing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, Josh. And I've fallen over on my little dog. I lost control of my body. And basically, I'm just begging God again. I'm like, are we doing this? Are we here? Are we here again right now? And then I just felt comfort. And I don't know how long it took me to come to, but I peed on my little dog. Both the dogs were crying and running around me when it was happening. And I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I just thought, I just got married. I just now met this most amazing person that I'm supposed to be with for the rest of my life. And he's going to marry me. And I don't know how I kept going. I don't know what it was that came over. I just knew that I wasn't going anywhere. And then I finally got control of my body. Like, I went, like, when my arm started to like go crazy, I went to stand up and I fell. And I finally come to, and there's actually a video on my phone still. And that video is like 17 or 18 minutes long, and you can hear me choking. And I mean, you can't see me because the phone had like fallen in between or whatever, but you can hear, and it's pretty crazy. It's terrible. But I ended up getting to the hospital, and know what was going on. There was a whole lot of testing going on. They were asking where my husband was. And then my voice started to, like, my mouth just started to not work well. And then my arm started to go away, and my tongue felt like I didn't have control over it. And then I couldn't feel my face anymore. And I just remember the doctor saying, like, wow, like, I had to go to physical therapy. I had to do, like, some speech therapy stuff. I had to do, basically, he was just like, wow, like, you're still here. And there's kind of a running joke with me and all my friends. It's like, yeah, I'm the alley cat. Like, I'm fucking mangled. Excuse me. I'm all mangled over here.
This is an 18 plus stream, so you're fine with swearing.
And I was actually in prep for USA's. And I choose to not tell anybody what had happened. Not yet.
I know.
Yeah, I had done, because I'm a coach as well.
Yes.
And I'm very, like, get shit done. Like, doesn't matter what happens, get shit done. These people are paying you. Like, you are working your dream job, get your shit done, sort of thing. Like, and I had done check-ins with one eye. Like, I was typing with one eye open. Like, just, I was, doing my best. And I got through check-ins and everything. And, like, they wanted to hold me, but I left because, like, my dogs. And, like, I had to sign a release. Because they're like, something could happen. You could also have because I also have a ventricular tachycardia or something like that. But they're like, your heart can also stop and you could just die. And I'm like, well, I mean, I got dogs. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So, I get back and I'm basically doing things with one arm and one eye. And I'm here I was training for a bodybuilding show that I've got a good chance of going pro at. And here I am, barely even able to push my own body weight up to stand. And it was so humbling, but something else is that my speech had also just gone. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, I don't interrupt you because I want you to hear from my perspective that 4-month period is that, yeah, I knew about your stroke, and then you didn't come on much, but when you did, you had the very limited speech. I remember that you're like a person with a stroke. You're one side of your mouth, and you had a very difficult time saying simple words. I remember that, and I checked him and said, "How's your speech going?" And so that's all I was concerned about was you. I wasn't even thinking that you were hiding that you were doing bodybuilding on top of all this.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, okay, how you doing? How's your speech coming? How's your this going? And all of a sudden you're driving from North Carolina to Las Vegas to go to the USA's. I go, what?
Yeah, so that was funny. So I told Cliff, I said, hey, I want to keep going because I think this is what I need to do. My husband is gone, and I have to be better when he gets back. I can't. I felt tremendous amount of guilt because I have the most amazing man, and he goes to deploy, and he comes back to a wife who is severely fucked up. And I just knew, I just wanted to focus on something. I just knew that if I focused on that, and I would get better somehow. I just knew I just had to keep focusing on something in order to put one foot in front of the other. And it just so happened to align with, like, yeah, personal, physical therapy stuff and all of these other things. And then I started going to the gym and only using machines. And I wouldn't talk to people, but people knew me on Instagram that I did not know they knew me. And they knew what I was going through, and they would watch me. And if I needed help with something, they didn't say a word. They would just do it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a really small gym. I actually loved it. I loved it so much. It was like a small little family gym. And then slowly my speech started getting better. I had this theory though. About medical marijuana and CBD and everything. And I remember I wanted to see, like, is there a way for me to, am I trying too hard? Is there a way for me to just let go and maybe see if my voice can, or if my speech can come back? And I had, I'd started smoking, and I'm like, it's like 11:30 at night. I'm in the kitchen, and I just start dancing. And there was this song on that my husband and I had like danced to at the beach, not at the beach, but like in my mind, like we were at the beach. But so that song came on, and it always reminds me of the beach. And then Bender, my dog our dog came over, and I just remember saying Ben, and I remember it just came out like Ben, and I was like, oh my god, like I just started freaking out, and I just kept saying Ben over and over, and I just kept saying it. And then whenever like it wore off, like it kind of went back to broken speech. And so then I started using a vape pen, and every time my speech would start to get better. And I don't know, I do want to tell you one thing though. My brother, the one that I told you was there, like, I saw him, like, whenever I came back and everything, like, he was actually in North Carolina when all of that went down. And he had come, like, he lived up in Raleigh, and he would work, like, 10 to 12-hour days, and he would, like, drive 2 hours each way to come stay with me. And he would bring me food, and he would bring me, like, he would just take care of me. And I remember, like, I was trying to say something, and I just started crying, and I was like, I'm dumb, or something. And he just started bawling, and he got so mad, and he's like, you are not dumb. He's like, you're the most beautiful person. You are not dumb. He's like, you're so smart. You're so strong. And he just started crying, and he's one of the most, like, I love him so, so, so much. And he's just, his support and everything has just helped me so much, and I think that's really important to have.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And then also, I think another thing that really helps with healing is love. I know that sounds really cheesy.
No, it doesn't.
But, like, my speech, like, so my speech was probably, I don't know, in the morning times, like, it would take a while for my brain to wake up and connect.
Right.
So I started taking, like, this medicine that I got from the doctor that would actually help me. And when Josh got back, like, I was doing my cardio for prep, and so I would take my medicine, and it would kind of help wake me up. And I would be we would go on the trail walks for my fasted cardio. But, like, I'm moving my body, but my brain still isn't all there. And sometimes he would just be talking so much, and I can't respond, so I'd just be like,
Overload.
Yeah, like my brain is not here right now. But every day, every single day, it's like there was improvement. And he did not look at me any different at all. Like I think he loved me more.
I know he loves you a lot.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Yeah.
So let's take a sidetrack. Let's talk about love. And let's talk about weddings. Those of you who are watching, you can see the image show that's the slideshow that's going on, and you can see her wedding photo there, and all you're thinking, what? What do you mean? The picture of her in her hot dog suit. That is her wedding dress.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. What made you all decide to do that?
So, I'm not real big into fashion. I don't know.
No.
I'm not, I don't know all that stuff. I don't go shopping.
There it is. It just popped up.
Nice. So there was, we were going to do something really small. And, well, first we were going to do something big, and then some of my family couldn't come out, and so then we were just going to do something else, and then, we were just going to go to the courthouse. Mm-hmm. And then Josh's mom came out, and some of his aunts, and his dad, and then his other dad, and then his other mom, they live here, and anyway, so people just started getting together, and we were at this small little winery because we were just kind of showing her around. I love his mom so much. Oh my gosh, she's the sweetest. And we were at this little winery, and we were all just having a really great time together. And she's like, well, why don't we just get married? Why don't we just do it here? And it was a tiny little winery. And at the time, now she's one of my really good friends. The girl that worked there, she's like, yeah, all you got to do is just buy, 10 wine bottles or something. So it was going to be $200. That was going to be the cost. And, that would cost the cover of, being there and everything. And we would also have, date nights at this little, so this is, in a little shopping area strip, kind of. Okay. And so on one end is the winery, and on the other end is this little New York deli.
Okay. Yep, take your time.
Thanks. So we ended up getting paninis and everything catered to the winery from the deli, and it was just it was our little date night food kind of thing.
Right.
And so after the winery, after we talked about, doing it at the winery and everything, we ended up going to a little, what do you call it? Not a Goodwill, but a gift store.
Okay.
And we were going to look for a dress or something, and I didn't want to do it in a dress, and I didn't want to have debt, and I didn't want all the pressure, and I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to be comfortable. So I'm kind of looking at stuff and trying on dresses, and I'm I actually rip a dress open, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This is just garbage. I'm not doing this. And so I kind of broke down, and I talked to him, and he's like, well, why don't we just do tracksuits? And he has this thing I don't know what you call it, but there's this group that we follow, and it's called Slavs Squatting in Tracksuits.
Okay.
And it's just a whole bunch of just Slavs and Russians, and they're all in tracksuits, and it shows their little cars with carpet and rugs in it, and crazy designs on their cars, and they have strips of duct tape on their car, Adidas stripes, and they've got AKs and just crazy shit. So I'm like, dude, totally. And then I come across this hot dog suit, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. So I go try it on, and I come out, I'm like, I found it. And they're laughing. His mom's laughing. She's like, really? Like, yeah. She's like, oh my gosh, you so should. That would be so funny. So got it. It was $5. Went to Dick's Sporting Goods, got some tracksuits. Everyone showed up in tracksuits. Like it was a tracksuit hot dog costume wedding with
Paninis and wine.
and wine and chocolate. Like it was small and
Perfect.
perfect, dude. It was so perfect.
So he won the big wiener.
Yeah, he won the big wiener.
He's the big wiener.
He is the big wiener.
Okay, that's what I love. I love that story. I really do. Okay, so future Brittney, what's on the agenda? What are you working towards now?
Let's see. So we are in prep now. I am doing. I'm 11, 14, and 17 weeks out. I'm doing a show in Atlanta. It's the Chicago Pro, but
Yeah.
they moved to Atlanta this year and last year. Anyway.
Yes.
And then I'm doing Tampa Pro and Savannah Pro.
Okay.
So I don't know how. I mean, here's the thing. Like, if I show up at the Chicago Pro and they're like, hey, you're a little small, we need you a little bigger, then I'm probably not going to do the other shows. But if I have a chance, like, could you imagine, like, I mean, I know this would be so far-fetched, but, like, what if I made enough points to go to the Olympia?
It's not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched. I'm telling you.
That would be so
I
cool.
believe in you. You can do this.
Thanks, man.
I'm serious. That's great. I wish we had Toronto and you'd come up here, but, you know, COVID.
I have my passport. Oh, yeah, you're
No,
right.
COVID. We're closed.
I always forget about that damn bug.
Yes.
But how? How can you forget?
So that's what I mean. So let's just put things on the line here. Lupus, your Behçet's disease, your stroke, through COVID and immunodeficiency.
Yeah.
And you're prepping for 3 bodybuilding shows, 6 weeks apart.
Yeah.
Like,
seriously.
seriously.
I'm really excited because I'm just doing it. Like, Cliff is such an opportunity to work with. He's so awesome.
Which is your coach. We didn't mention by name before. Cliff is your coach.
He's very well known in the natural industry. He's very well known natural coach. Cliff Wilson. He's phenomenal. I love him. He's my dude, man. So it's just a really great opportunity to get to work with him. I actually got a sponsorship this year with a suit company, and I'm their first women's bodybuilder. So, like, that's huge because in my opinion, it's kind of hard to get sponsorships as a female bodybuilder if you don't do OnlyFans and if you don't do the posing and if you don't do all those dirty type of photos. And that's not like that's for my husband. That's not for, you know what I mean? So, like,
yeah.
So it's kind of hard because, you know, like, that's, you know, sex sells, but, like, they chose me because they told me, they're like, you have a great heart. And I was like, holy crap, like, if that's what you're going for, then, like, I'm totally here for you guys. Like, this is so cool. And then Ariel is she's just an inspiring, wonderful woman. She's just so positive, and she's been around for a lot of my healing and growth, and she's the one that owns RKO Apparel. And yeah, I'm working with Goob. His name is Goob.
Goob.
Yeah, Goob you. Working with him for posing this year. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm just kind of like, I'm keeping to myself. I'm doing everything in my garage. I'm just in life and just minding my business and focusing on me.
Yeah, I highly suggest anyone going to your Instagram page and checking it out because I said you post all your workouts in your garage with your little dance moves and your posing while you're singing. You know, yeah, like okay. There's two things I want to take away from talking to you today. Is that one? It's obvious bodybuilding saved your life in more than one way, like more than once, and that because of your near death experiences or full death experience and coming back, that you just don't give a shit. You just enjoy life to the fullest every single day. And that has attracted me to you from the very beginning. That I've seen that in you. That you just between the hot dog suit and the dancing and the talking to your plants and you just love life, and I love that about you.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you for seeing that.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's been what 7, 8 years since I've met you, and it's just this admiration has just grown and grown the more I've known you.
I appreciate that.
And yeah, and then once COVID is all done, we're hoping that we can do our big show that we were planning to do in 2020.
That would be rad.
Down in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I don't know if anyone knows from the 3 times we've talked, but Days of Inspiration was actually a live action seminar series where multiple people would come and talk, and such as Brittney here, and Frank and Debbie, the 2 previous talkers, and many others. And the plan was to be in, well, it was Charlotte first, back in it was May of 2020, and then we had to postpone it. Then we thought November 2020, we have to postpone that. So now we're just in lockdown mode uh, until we figure out when we can do this.
I love that you adapted, though. I love that you are doing these interviews like this.
Well,
I also think it helps me too, like in the future, because like just talking, like I had blown out like panic attack earlier just from thinking about doing this, which is silly because like it's it's you, but like I think it'll also give people like insight like on who's gonna be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and plus, I mean, it's going to be more like from the original June 2020 event to the future one that's coming. We're actually planning a lot more, planning it bigger than what originally was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're going to have the inspirational speakers. You're talking about food trucks.
Yeah, I really want tacos.
Yeah, so we'll have food trucks. We'll have a DJ. We'll have a place for workouts. We'll have a place for posing symposium. Maybe a dietary aspect. Chefs or whatever to help.
Yeah. I talked to Cliff, and Cliff told me like when I'm ready for like a nutrition seminar or whatever, like he's down.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a lot bigger than what I imagined. Well, no, the very first one I imagined was going to be a whole weekend thing. That was the original thought, and then we didn't.
That's like the big goal.
Yes, and I feel like now we can achieve that goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Once COVID lets us.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Taking the step.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm very much looking forward to coming down there. It'll be in Fayetteville / Fort Bragg area. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's any questions. So just tell people where they can find you.
Let's see. So if you Instagram is Coach Muscle Nugget. Facebook Brittney Nicole Larson. My business is LimitlessPhysiques.com. I'm actually running a little promo until the 15th for 10% off coaching.
We do have that in the chat. All of that information came up on chat. The Limitless Physiques. the Bikini Lab Hawaii and the RKO one.
Yeah.
All those links are there showing on the chat, so people can get them and follow it for the discounts.
Right on. Well then, yeah. I mean, yeah. Instagram, Coach Wilson Nugget SB.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for doing this, Brittney. Love you to bits. And yeah, I really hope you have a great day and good luck in those competitions.
Thanks, Nugget.
Okay. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And we'll be back in 2 weeks where we will have Paul DeMarco here. Another huge comeback story where he was basically on death's door as well through a car crash. And anyway, we'll let him tell you, but he went from basically 600 pounds to under 200 pounds now. So it's a huge, great story. I hope you all tune in 2 weeks from today, May 20th. That's it. All right. So until next time, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you again, Muscle Nugget, for coming in, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.